Big Ronnie, and you're listening to Without Your Head. And if you don't enjoy this, you're making a big mistake.
Welcome to this station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil.
That would make me terrible, Troy.
And we're joined by a plethora of guests here. Director and writer Brian Lonano.
That's right. Hello.
Hello. Producer Jill Six Gevargizian. I practiced this all day. Gevargizian. Oh my God.
Very close. Hello.
Well, I had it right in my head all day. Production designer Blake Myers.
What's up, everybody?
and writer Victoria Cook.
Hey, everybody.
I'm going to edit the beginning so I get Jill's names right. So they're the amazing, wonderfully gross BFF Girls, which is debuting March 24th at Boston Underground Film Festival, or BUFF for cool kids. So it's good to have you guys here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Oh, it's exciting to be here.
Yeah. Now, first of all, I didn't notice this till today, but if you type in BFF on Facebook, you get like these clapping hands, and you get like you get animation. Have you guys noticed that?
Yes, cool. I have. I feel it's a great confidence booster for me every time I have to promote the film.
They're clapping for you every time.
Exactly. I feel so good about myself.
Yeah, I believe it was added specifically for all of you.
Yes, I hope so. I'll write a letter of thanks to Mark Zuckerberg.
Right. So, Victoria and Brian, when did you guys start writing this, and where did the idea come from?
Well, this idea has sort of been percolating for 3 years, but the idea of doing something like this, meaning the tokusatsu genre, Japanese films like Ultraman or Godzilla or Sailor Moon, Power Rangers, things like that, that's been well seeded many, many years before that. But the origin of BFF Girls came from Tori and me basically binge watching Sailor Moon on Hulu, and I had never seen it before, and I just was like, I'll watch it with you to keep you company, because I know she watched it growing up, and I got kind of sucked into it, and I found it quite hilarious and absurd, because there were just so many different kinds of monsters that they fought based off of like crazy inanimate objects. And we started thinking about like, oh, what if they fought like a tampon monster or something like that? So the tampon monster was the first to come out of that.
Yeah,
and then
the story.
Yeah. And then I guess after that, well, what?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like Brian said, yeah, it was heavily influenced by Sailor Moon, and as we watched it, you know, we would think of all these funny jokes about like what they could be doing, and I think the story kind of came from that, all the things we would want to see in a girl superhero movie, you know, and we thought it'd be especially funny if the girls in the movie were, you know, girls who were obsessed with anime, like real, you know, otaku kind of dork girls who, you know, it's their dream to turn into beautiful Japanese superheroes.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of like something we wanted to do. And and also to go back to shows like Power Rangers, I loved the American version, because even when I was a kid, I noticed that it looked different when they changed into the Power Rangers. So it was like the American actors, and then when they transform, it's like, well, that's clearly the Japanese show. So we wanted to do something like that, only they had no helmet or mask to hide behind. So it's just like very clear, like they're transforming into these other people. So yeah, that's sort of like those ideas were coming into play, and we had come up with all kinds of tropes and stuff that you find in anime, like the pervy wise old man, and you have like the sort of flamboyant wizard who's the villain, and you know, obviously the inanimate object, cursed object that becomes a monster. So all those kinds of things were factored in. So it was definitely a process to brainstorm and then start writing the script and the treatment and all that stuff. So yeah, it's taken a while. So we're very happy that it's done.
Well, what did Jill and Blake? What did you guys think when you first heard of the idea?
I thought it was crazy and I loved it. If I was already familiar with Brian's work, so he's made a lot of crazy and gross things. And this one actually is one that has, as silly as it may be, I think it has a lot of heart in it as well. And that's something I love about it, beyond everything about it just being just so fun and so different from anything I've ever made.
That's why it's fun to be involved with Brian and Tori, is because their films are different. And this is my fourth film I made with them. And whenever they pitch something to me, I'm always like, all right, this is marking off all the right things I want. I want a lot of blood in anything I work on. And I want things like Sailor Moon and Power Rangers and Ultraman. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. We're done. We're ready. It's going to be amazing.
Now, Jill, you said you knew Brian's work before, but had you ever worked with him before?
I had not. I had shown a couple films at Slaughter Movie House, a screening series I do here in Kansas City. And our work had shown together at a lot of festivals, over the last few years. So I think at first I messaged him, I offered to help him with something to do with SAG, I think. And then I was like, I'd love to help with this project just all around if you need help. I was just threw myself out there.
I was very thankful for that, Jill, because, we first met at the Rome International Film Fest in Georgia, and Crowhand played, which is 2 films ago, and Call Girl played. And I remember seeing Call Girl, and I think I told you this in my birthday letter to you, wishing you a happy birthday, that when I saw Call Girl, it felt like it was made by somebody who had made films, like a lot of films before. It felt like it was very mature and not in the content or anything like that, but just like the direction was very mature. Somebody who was very in control of the story. There was a jump cut in the film that basically sealed the deal for me. I'm like, she's good. She's a good filmmaker. And we had kept in touch, as she said, on the circuit, because later she had The Stylist, which was playing with our next short, William. And she helped me out with this SAG thing. And at the time, Tori and I were producing the shorts, and she just sort of wanted to take a little break from it because William was so intense with all the festivals that we were going to. I had just asked Jill if she would help produce it. And I'm super thankful that she said yes, because she was a terrific contributor to the film.
Yay, Jill!
Yay, Jill!
Yeah.
And of course, I cannot gloat about Jill without gloating about Blake, because as Blake said, we've collaborated 4 times, and I was just telling him before the show started that we've known each other for 10 years, but we've been working together for the past 5, I guess, on these films. And he's an amazing person to collaborate with. He's so on board with all these crazy ideas that we want to do. And he also, like Jill, was able to pool resources and get people to help us out, and get equipment or whatever. And I couldn't have done this film without them, for sure, because it was a very ambitious project. It's been the most ambitious projects I've made in a long time. And excuse me. And I don't know. I just can't say enough about how much these two mean to me. Especially on this film. And of course, my wife, the co-writer and co-creator of the insane shit that we do. She's still married to me after all these ideas I do, especially William. But yeah, no, I surround myself with very inspirational, very enthusiastic, and really great people. So.
Yeah. Go on, sorry.
Well, I just want to say it's always an adventure making a movie with Brian, and it's really fun the way on this film we did something larger and working with Jill and bringing other people we didn't know before. But, you learn so much more about being an artist, being a filmmaker, and making stuff when you work with new people. And that was a really good experience on this film.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And since it's so visual, I would assume you all kind of have to be on the same, same brain pattern to be able to create what you think of, and to match what's in your head.
Yes. The thing is, like, I also am very flexible, and I trust the collaborators. So, Blake is a terrific production designer, and he's introduced me to Toniette, who did all the costumes, and she absolutely killed it with the costumes. And I trust these people, and I trust the DP, Josh Skirsky, who we've collaborated now on like 3 films together. And I trust these people because I know they're good at their jobs, and I give them basically parameters of what I want, and then what they do is they surpass that. And it's not that I let them do that; it's I want them to be creative. And if they come back and I offer feedback, I mean that's how it is, really. Same with Mark Malik, who did the music, another person who Blake introduced me to. Just really awesome people, really enthusiastic, and really inspirational to work with because they challenge me and I challenge them. It's a very symbiotic relationship that I have with all the collaborators. So I'm not a tyrant on the set.
Brian's awesome to work with because he knows about like what we have to work with in the space of like we're an independent film. We have very little resources, but we have a lot of passion and a lot of talent that we want certain people to shine within the production. And Brian's always very helpful in working with people to make the best out of what we got. So I think we get a lot of bang for our buck, and Brian's direction is a lot to do with it. It's a good time making movies here.
Yeah. And
I was going to say, we definitely don't downplay how well thought out Brian's vision is from the start. And that's why everything, I think, flows so well. I mean, he had storyboarded this film multiple times, months ahead of time. He has real care for every part of the process. And, that's like infectious. It's addicting. Passion.
Yeah, that was one of the qualities that I thought was so great about you, which was another factor in like saying like Jill should, she's up for it. Like let's produce this together. Is that because you were also organized? We shared stories about how we make the schedules and the call sheets and the storyboards, and stuff like that. So preparation for any movie is like incredibly important. Especially something of this level and that required a lot of visual effects. So yeah, she's not lying when I had to like storyboard it a couple of times because I think we had scheduled out a day that had 40 setups and I was able to cut it down to 22 just because of time and scheduling and stuff like that. So, but that's the independent, world. You don't have those luxuries of like, let's just keep shooting and pay the penalty for unions and stuff, or like let's shoot 5 days a week. Like we were shooting on weekends, like everybody does, when they have a passion project on the side.
Yeah. So how long did it actually take to shoot?
It took it took 2 weekends, and then there was an additional weekend in December. So it was like the last weekend of May, the first weekend of June, and then a 1 day in December, where we shot like basically a couple of shots of a puppet that was used for the very, very end of the film. Because I was on the fence on whether or not I was going to do this little teaser that was going to happen, this post-credit scene in our BFF Girls expanded cinematic universe. But then we decided, let's go for it. So that was why we did a pickup shot much later in December. But yeah, it was all basically concentrated into those 4 days over 2 weekends. It was grueling.
It would have been amazing to have 2 more days of shooting.
It would have, yeah. Especially that last day. The last day was like we were running and gunning pretty fast because that was a day where we had to basically between the week between the shoots we had to quickly figure out a second location because our location would be rained out. We were going to be shooting outside, so the whole fight scene that was going to happen was going to be outside. And then it wasn't going to happen because it was going to rain all day. So we wound up shooting on green screen, and we just sort of came up with this idea of like, let's have them go into this sort of abstract
fantastical world, and that's where the battle will be. And hopefully it'll sort of mimic the ideas behind some of those shots in Sailor Moon where somebody strikes a pose and attacks, and it's like a very like abstract background or something like that. So that's what we were kind of going for. And another factor of inspiration was a film by the director Nobuhiko Obayashi, who made that crazy film House, which I'm going to talk about a little later. But he did another one that didn't get a release here called School in the Crosshairs. And there's this whole like 8-minute sequence that's all done on blue screens, and all the backgrounds are like slit scans and all these abstract like images. And it just blew my mind when I saw it. And I wanted to have something like that for our end battle scene. So, but that was a busy day. That was a busy day.
Well, we had another major challenge that day. I don't know if we're talking about, but
yes.
we basically made this film happen against all odds the final day of shooting.
Yeah. Well, you can go into detail, Joe. Go ahead.
We had to recast a very big character last minute on our final day, and it somehow happened.
Yeah.
And it turned out awesome.
Yeah. We had cast somebody and they were all set to go. They had gone to the table read, so it was good. And then, we're on the location on the last day in the green screen studio, and this person was a no-show, and nobody knew where they were. So, we reached out and did the best we could to sort of make sure this person was okay. But while that was happening, we were also trying to get in touch with somebody who could do it last minute. And this person, I'll name her because she's terrific.
Yes.
Her name's Caroline Utley. She is definitely one of the saviors of BFF girls for sure, because she came last minute and did we got all of her shots done in like 4 hours, because I swear she had like another gig that she had to go to at 2:00. She had like a hard out to do some other gig, and we got her shots done, and she nailed it. Thankfully, the costume fit, so there wasn't a worry about adjustments or anything like that. And I got to do a little bit of directing with her, because obviously there wasn't enough time to like go into the character and all that stuff. But
was laser hair removal?
Yes, she laser hair removal move. But yeah, it's she was terrific. A great last minute addition to the film, which is funny because months before she had written to me saying like, "Oh, do you have this part filled?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry. We're all casted." And then sure enough, like, thankfully she was available that day, so it was great. Very thankful to Caroline.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I guess the something that doesn't go right makes for a better film in a way, like you said. Maybe it came out better having the green screen than if you would have done it outside.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Sometimes when something like happens, like an obstacle happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's like a sign, basically. Like, let's go with this route. And sure enough, like, it was the better route, because I think the big fight scene at the end is way more fantastical than what it would have been if we had shot just outside.
Yeah. Now, by the way, I want to thank Keys Williams here, because he's like doing play-by-play of the interview for people who can't tune in, I guess. But he also has a question for all. Who made you choose the actors and actresses that you did?
Okay, let's talk about the dorky.
Wait, hold up. Keys is a she. Just
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Oh, she's a big cheerleader for us. She's awesome. Yeah, she's super awesome. Okay, back to the casting. So let's talk about the American girls first. So we had Allison Mayer, Jessica Shipp, and Sydney Thomas. So Allison is an actor, and she's been in a lot of features. Like, she was in Space Babes from Outer Space, and I think she had a bit part in Frankenstein Created Bikers, and a few other films. But I've sort of never had an opportunity to work with her yet, and she had helped with the proof of concept test footage that we shot for BFF Girls in 2016. So we had shot test footage June of 2016, which was exactly a year before we actually shot the film. So like I said, this thing has been in the works forever. So she was on board since then. And she was great. I think she was a terrific actor. She took direction so well, and that's our cat chiming in, just agreeing that Allison was great. And so she was awesome. Very enthusiastic. She knew the source material, so it was very easy to tell her like the kind of mood I was going for. Jessica Shipp is she works with William Mahaffey at the Knoxville Horror Film Fest, and she likes to act too, and she's also very inspired by anime and things like that. So she got the source material as well as Sydney, who I am actually a coworker with. Like we work at the same job together, but she's a very charismatic actress, and she had a bit part in William. And when I told her about this idea, like many moons ago, she was like, I want to be in this movie. So I never turn down somebody who wants to be in my movie, except that one time with Carol Ann, but then it worked out. But yeah, so they were all a real treat. And, each of them have their unique personalities that they brought to the performances. Like Jessica's portrayal of Lily is really great. I love watching her listen to the other actors as they read their lines, because she's sort of like, her eyes are all over the place, and it's like a lot of fun to watch. And then the superhero versions, we had talked about Carol Ann, and so I'll mention Marilyn Chung, who was again on board like back in 2016 with the proof of concept test. So she was the counterpart to Allison in the test footage that we did. And I got in touch with Jessica Nam through Toniette, our costume designer. And Jessica Nam is part of SAG, as is Carol Ann, and she does stunt work. So she was like on some bigger movies shooting in Georgia. And she's also obviously familiar with the source material, and was very excited about it. She was very professional. They all took direction incredibly well, and they were so easy to work with. Like nobody was like a problem to work with. And Lawrence Sickman, who was Fabuloso Doom.
I'm sorry, we really need to talk about casting Fabuloso Doom.
Yes, I'm so proud of Lawrence, because I had met him again. Toniette had put me in touch with him, and I met him at a coffee shop, and he had told me, this I don't really do these kinds of movies. I'm kind of like not sure. The things he's been cast in is like this type of scientist or this type of like businessman. So he was sort of typecast in roles, I guess that unfortunately Asian men and women kind of get typecast as. Nobody ever sees them as sort of like leading male or leading roles. But so to watch him cut loose and become Fabuloso Doom was so much fun to see. I mean, my face, I had a stupid grin the whole time we were shooting, because like I just loved the enthusiasm that all the actors brought, and I feel like Lawrence just like blew everybody away, especially in the park scene where yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about.
After I got done reading the script and I was looking at Brian, I was like, how are we going to find someone to play the role of Fabuloso Doom? I mean, they can't get paid because we don't have enough money, and they'll have to do this for free and want to do this, and we have to find someone who can actually act. And so when he came to us with Lawrence, I was like, we don't want to do like a read. And Brian just has this intuition where he doesn't even need a read. He's like, this guy's going to work. And man, Lawrence killed it.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like, the first time we saw him in full costume, because like he looks very normal in real life. So I was like, I think I got like tears in my eyes. It was like so awesome.
When Toniette was doing the costume test, she took pictures, and I could see his demeanor change in the pictures. He had this swagger. Then when he had the cape and the breastplate on and stuff like that, you see him change. And it was
it's so the hair.
Exactly. It's the hair and the cape and the little claw finger thing that he has. I mean, it's awesome. Like and it's fun watching somebody like be able to like lose themselves in the role. I'm so proud of him, and I'm so proud of like all the actors that we had on the project. You know, I hope Lawrence gets more roles. Honestly, like I want people to see like this guy needs to be in more films. You know, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was amazing. And kind of going back to what you said before about, I believe Jill said that the film has heart to it. Like his scenes, a lot of scenes could just be like gross out stuff, but since you could tell he's having so much fun and everyone's like so over the top and stuff, it's charming at the same time. So it's not just like a gross out thing. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That was definitely like an intention. You know, I had seen a lot of sort of television shows that parody these types of genres. One I kept thinking of was this one on. It was called Titan Maximum. It was sort of like a Voltron parody, but all the team members seemed so like antagonistic towards each other, and there was no like sense of teamwork, or it was like a begrudging teamwork. So like I wanted to make sure like the girls were friends, you know, that never changed. They never like got mad at each other. They were good friends, and I felt like they all had good chemistry on screen together. And you know, the addressing of what basically the film is about, which is one of the girls gets their period for the first time. And you know, they all sort of like are like, no, it's fine. It's normal. You know, it's nothing to be ashamed of or grossed out by. And, you know, I think it's weird in a way that like, that's still sort of taboo in movies. But I'm so used to it now. I mean, when you're married, you're used to those kinds of things. So, sorry, hon. But you know, you just get accustomed to things like that, and they're not unusual anymore. So it's funny when you hear like people get repulsed by William, you know, for being totally gross in a very different way versus something like this, which is like more natural, even though I push it way far, you know, way far. But yeah, it was all never meant to be like mean or making fun or anything like that. It was very sincere when we wrote it. You know, that was our intention. That being said, we do have like gross characters in it and misguided characters, but those people always seem to get their comeuppance. You know, like Nico Sensei, the trope of the perverted wise old man, Master Roshi, or something like that. And we just wanted to write the most extreme thing that he could say to show, like, it's not appropriate to talk like that to girls, you know. And so every time he does, like, he gets you know, his comeuppance. He gets squirt with water, and because he's so tiny, it's easy for them to just like throw a pillow at him and say shut up or whatever. So
and a perfect casting with Lawrence Harvey for the voice.
That's all thanks to Jill. Jill set us up, and again, Lawrence is also a fan of Japanese stuff, so it all worked out. Yeah.
Here, wait. We need to discuss how much they made the actual cat look like Lawrence's face.
It does, right? It does a lot.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Was that Lucas or you, Blake? Lucas that did that?
Lucas Godfrey had sculpted the Nico Sensei face, and we got a cat off of Amazon, and he just ripped the parts out that didn't need to be there anymore, sculpted a face that looked a little bit like Lawrence Harvey, and made that disgusting cat. The very last part of the movie, the last shot with Nico Sensei, that's the only part where I'm like, I think we went too far.
Yeah, but it's funny, like, that was always in the script, was the cat licking itself at the end. Like, Tori had said, like, we should end it with the cat, like, licking itself. Like, that's how
Tori.
Spoiler alert, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, he's fit. And if Lawrence is listening, hope he's doing well. I know he was in the hospital for a little while.
Yeah, I heard. I hope you get better, Lawrence.
Yeah. So Lawrence was on board, I assume, once he heard about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew he would love this whole thing. Like, I was like, this is right. This is meant to be Lawrence.
It's the role he was born to play. That's right.
Yeah,
So
it was very exciting to reach out to more known, actors to help out with some of these smaller roles. In addition to Lawrence Harvey, we also got Dana Snyder from Aqua Teen Hunger Force fame, and he does the voice of the magic mirror that counsels Fabuloso Doom, and he was great too. And I haven't met. Actually, no, I did meet Dana. I'm sorry. My friend Jim DeSantis actually introduced Dana to me and my wife, and we all had dinner together. And Dana was really nice. We drove him back to his hotel that he was staying at because he was visiting Atlanta he shoots Your Pretty Face Is Going to Hell Here. And yeah, we had dinner with him, and he was super nice. And later on, I just sort of reached out to him asking if he would do this, and he said yeah. So I just had to fill out some SAG paperwork to have him on board and make sure that the project was SAG eligible, which it is, thanks to Jill helping us out with that. And that just sort of opened up the opportunity to get a few more people in those smaller roles, like Lawrence and like the last minute edition of Michael St. Michael's.
Mm-hmm. No, he's fantastic too, and I didn't even tell that was his voice when I was watching it.
He was so much fun. I got to talk to him on the phone, so I haven't met him, but I sorely want to, because The Greasy Strangler is definitely one of the greatest pictures history of motion pictures.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's such a special movie, and I was pretty thrilled that he friended me on Facebook like last year or something, and so we sort of messaged each other back and forth, and I asked him I think when I messaged him, I asked him if he would donate to the campaign, but he said, I can't, but I'd be happy to do a voice for you. And I was like, and I wrote to Jill, I was like, we could get the film.
Yeah, I was like, what are we going to have him do?
Yeah, so we basically made up that role.
Yeah, make something up.
So we were like, yeah, let's just have him be the narrator, because he has such a great commanding voice.
Oh, definitely.
And he was very enthusiastic. It was very much like,
exactly.
On the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, exactly. He knew exactly what we were going for. And I love listening to the outtakes. Like what's in the film is great, but listening to Lawrence's outtakes and listening to Dana's outtakes and listening to Michael's outtakes. I mean, they're all terrific little treasures that I get to keep now.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Lawrence's. Every time you made those meow sounds, oh my god, it was great. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, Blake, for production design, what were some of the hardest things to create to make it look like an anime world?
I guess putting together the girls' bedroom there was a lot of components to collect, and Allison, who played Rose, she brought in a ton of stuff. Tone Yet, who did the costumes, we brought in the costume in the background that was the costume we used in the test, as somebody is more of an anime cosplay kind of feel. And then we also got in touch with some local comic book publishers here from Mini Comics, and then also Galactic Quest, Kyle Puttkammer's Hero Cats. We put all this stuff all over the background. So, that was really kind of a challenge to get that much stuff all to that room and deck that all out, and that was kind of a challenge.
It was amazing though, Blake. Because Blake had brought up from the very beginning, because in the script it says their room is filled with anime trinkets and posters and stuff like that. So right away he's like, we can't show any actual anime stuff. So yeah, he went above and beyond to find all these different pieces of art to just basically throw up onto the walls, and it looks awesome. The room, and that's the first wide shot, is that huge wide angle low angle shot of the room where you see all of those posters, and it's very overwhelming.
and we just wanted a ton of color.
Yeah, exactly. That was the other thing, was we wanted this movie to be so colorful. The whole park scene is actually shot in Blake's backyard. It's literally a movie shot in a backyard. He has bamboo, and
he has bamboo. I love that line.
I guess, a lot of work went into building the tampon cart as well.
Tampon cart.
Because I already had that cart built for another purpose. And so then I painted it white. My wife, Alyssa, came out and she helped me. She blocked out all the letters. And then I went through and painted all the letters, ordered some wheels, repainted those from Amazon. And the umbrella was awesome. It was the perfect color, shape, and size. And now I still have the tampon cart, and I use it as my tool cart.
All right.
And I'm outside the house sometimes, and I'm chopping wood, and there's a saw on it. Tampons for sale. Great piece. You got to keep hanging on to that one.
When you work on the movie for so long, you forget that something like a tampon card is completely absurd. So like when I started showing it to people, they're like, "That tampon card's crazy." And I was like, "You just used to it for so long." Yeah, you kind of forget where the crazy starts and stops when you work on it for so long.
Very much so. I don't want to give away too much, but there's some special effects hurdles that had to be jumped over. I don't want to give away an ending, but there were some special apparatuses that people had to wear to make sure blood squirted out everywhere it should. That
was so much. That was fun for me to watch. I'm sure it wasn't for the girls, but it was great. I mean, it looked great, and the finished shot is terrific. It's a work of art. Mm-hmm. If I may say so. And that's all the visual effects and compositing were done by my good friend Jeff Jenkins, whom I've known for a long time now, and we went to college together, and basically we just continued to make films together even after we graduated. So he's one of my longest collaborators, standing collaborators, and just going back to how many people come and help and make these films so great. I can't say it's all because of me. It's so many talented people like Matt Munson who helped Josh with the lighting and stuff like that, and Josh who helped me create the look of the film and the what filters to use on the camera. Inez Chimbor, who edited the film, she was a great collaborator. Eric Netherton, who did the sound mixing. There was one person I forgot to mention. I'm super sorry about the cast. And it was a last-minute addition thanks to Blake, which is Leia Enslin, who played Auntie Flo. She was terrific. We got her for a day, and she just knew. I told her, you're the Terminator. That's your motivation. Just because what I tried to explain was Auntie Flo is a personification of nature and how cruel it can be. So I just said you're indifferent and you're always you're unstoppable. So that was the motivator. You're the Terminator.
Leia went through, I think, was it 4 or 5 hours of makeup to make sure, because Tonyette designed that costume, and then Lucas Godfrey would put her in the makeup chair for 3 or 4 hours to get every little line painted into the whole thing. And it was an intense little get up to get into. And we had to keep her all secured and nice between the takes to make sure it all stayed on. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jill has a cameo. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, we had people also on fan duty to immediately put fans on our actors wearing all this makeup and heavy costume when they were, anytime we said cut.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty hot those days. Yeah.
And under all that and the lights.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Jill had a cameo in the movie.
Yes.
She was victim number 1?
Yes. What is my official title? What's funny is I knew there was going to be some blood involved, but I thought it was just going to be a little drip or something. So I wasn't exactly prepared for that, but I was stoked still.
Yeah, we pulled out the hose and we're like, okay, can we slide this down the back of your pants?
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know what we want to say, but I get bloody and fall for maybe.
That's the first really gross part that happens in the movie, actually. After I think about it, I'm pretty sure that's the first really gross thing to happen is the shot featuring you, and then it just gets worse from there.
Can I ask Brian an artistic question about the movie?
Oh, sure.
And like that whole scene, she's wearing an American flag and then she's bleeding. It's like, what's that all about?
The American flag was totally intentional, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's a symbol.
Really,
it's a political statement.
Actually, yeah. I wish I was more brilliant than that. No, I think it was just like Jill had a couple of shirts, and she's like, "This one or this one?" And I think like that one. I think because you were wearing black shorts, and we needed to wear like a lighter shirt. Like I feel like just in case like blood got on it, because if it did, it would like register more. So I think that was really the reason. Sorry, I'm very sorry. I am not an artist.
Well, no, I know you like to layer it. You like to layer things in the T-shirts of your movies because you have the reoccurring taco theme.
Well, yes, of course. There is the reoccurring taco shirt, which showed up in Crow Hand. The lead guy in Crow Hand is wearing a shirt that says taco, and we decided let's bring that taco shirt back, but let's have a girlier, a cute version of it. Yeah. So that's what Sydney wears in the park scene. So she wears a happy taco shirt. And that was designed by Toniette's husband, Jeremy.
Oh, yeah,
Jeremy
he's awesome.
I believe. So a little shout out for Jeremy.
Everybody helped on every little part. Every little bit of the movie was helped by somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Tori also contributed some visual effects animation. The ghost was done by an animator named Kay Kuipers, who did a really good job. He's the one that made the ghost scene happen. And I believe he did some flower animations that are sprinkled throughout the credit scenes. And Tori was able to do some additional like visual effects animation work that was done on the film, just to accentuate like snap zooms and things like that. So,
yeah, was that Lawrence?
That's Sensei.
The second one was me.
He's looking at himself right now.
Lawrence or the cat?
Yeah, both.
Lawrence is gonna be mad at us. Just kidding.
Probably. Sorry, Lawrence.
I feel like we should. I feel like you guys should brag about. They did some really cool stuff, like a lot of stuff that I think people, when they watch it, might assume was all done, like with animation or digitally, was actually like shot, on camera. Like the big grid of lights that Jeff built, that they shot and just like flew the camera through. That anyone might assume is just animated, but these guys like shot like so much of this stuff for real. Like remember we shot just fog rolling across the ground, the ground for like 20 minutes. Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah. The first day of shooting, after we had shot the scene with Fabuloso in the mirror, we shot basically a bunch of visual effects elements. And we shot some cloud tank effects, where you just fill up a giant fish tank full of water, and we put rubbing alcohol in it, so that way like the condensed milk that we shoot in the tank would sort of rest at the top. But we also use like different colored dyes, and we're able to use those for some of the backgrounds. Also a lot of fog that was rolling across the ground. The castle that Fabuloso lives in is a miniature. So there was all kinds of different elements that were shot and composited in later. And Jill had mentioned the stars. There's lots of like glimmering stars in space, and also in the background of the fight scene. And those were all actual lights. And we just put a star filter on the camera, and we're able to just sort of like film those elements to composite in later. So yeah, I love incorporating those kinds of things, and I try to give that stuff to Jeff, who can then composite it in. He's a terrific visual effects artist.
Yeah. Where does that come from? Did you where do you know how to do something like that?
So I'm a huge fan of a lot of the films from the 80s that Industrial Light and Magic had worked on, where before it was all done on computers. They would, do things like the cloud tank stuff that you would see in a movie like Poltergeist or The Dark Crystal or Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So I was looking up how things like that are done. A long time ago, I learned how they made the ghosts fly around at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they basically made a ghost puppet and just swam it around a fish tank. So I have a couple of really short bumpers for film festivals that incorporate that visual effect. I love those kinds of visual effects and try to incorporate them. It has such a great homemade sort of aesthetic, and it's not as like polished or refined. There's a lot of films out there and shorts and stuff like that have very like refined visual effects. It almost looks like District 9 or Elysium or something, or Chet. So basically Neil Blomkamp stuff. Everybody tries to look like Neil Blomkamp stuff nowadays, and I'm sort of like going more like I want it to look more like, have a more put together kind of aesthetic. When I was a kid, I wasn't as into the visual effects or special effects in Godzilla movies as I am now. I really love the way those things look, the way they do with optical printing and stuff like that. It's all super fascinating, and that's how they were able to achieve a lot of effects in that in the movie House and School of the Crosshairs. So there's tons more I wish I knew how to do, but I still have a lot more to learn.
I wanted to throw in that the motto, basically, I always go with filmmaking is it doesn't have to look real. It just has to look awesome. And
yes.
That's what we go with when we're making a movie with Brian, because he always wants to try this new idea. He's like, hey, we'll get a fish tank and we'll fill it with fog and we'll shoot this. I'm like, well, I never thought of it like that. That's a good way to translate an idea cinematically. And we try to do as much as we can in the physical world and then give it to Jeff. And Jeff knows how to take it to the extra level to digitally put more to it, because Jeff always takes what we do and takes it to the next level. It's amazing.
The movie's got a really good fusion of what Blake and Lucas have done with like puppets and fake blood and practical effects like that. And then Jeff is also able to like take real world things that we had shot and then composite them and create this like new setting and stuff like that. Like, it's awesome. Like, very, very talented people.
Yeah. So how long did it take to edit then, to, once you have everything filmed?
So I think we got started on editing a month after we shot, and I think we were cutting. I think I was cutting with Inez all the way till maybe September, and then she had to sort of like take off and work on a professional gig. So I took over from there. But she cut most of the film, and I helped with the fight scene. And then I had to make trims here and there and stuff like that. So I'd say that the picture was locked probably around the fall of last year. And then that's when I started sending, time codes to Jeff to start working on visual effects shots and give them back to me so I can start putting in the VFX shots. And then I pass it along to Andrea, who was our final colorist, who made the film look even greater by doing the color correction and also applying a film grain, because we wanted to give it sort of an older look. I didn't want it to be super crisp and clean like a lot of digital shows are shot now. So I wanted to have sort of that fuzziness that film grain can provide. And actually, I'm contemplating dumping the film down to VHS and recapturing it and have a VHS bootleg cut available at some point.
Very cool. So,
hell yes. You should.
Oh, absolutely. That'll come first full circle to this time I went to a Star Trek convention and I passed, one of those surly guys with the videos, all the bootleg videos and stuff like that. And I'm like looking at something. I'm like, what the heck is this? It had to be Power Rangers, but in Japan, Super Sentai. So I saw like, oh, there's the Power Ranger stuff, but then there was all this other stuff I had never seen before because it was from Japan. So I sort of like had that image in my mind for so long of like, BFF Girls possibly being some like newly discovered show or something like that, that was made way back when or whatever. So I like the idea of like having a bootleg tape of it somewhere.
I like that as well. So now I know it's debuting at Boston Underground Film Festival, but have you guys watched it with an audience yet?
No, not yet, unfortunately. I wish I can go to the Boston Underground Film Festival because I have before, and they always put on a great show, and I always feel so flattered when they accept our films and they play with such great like features and shorts. it's awesome. It's like one of the best festivals out there. And I've actually played there almost every year since 2009. Mm-hmm. I've had a film in the festival every year except last year because we were busy working on this film. But yeah, it's awesome. I wish I could be there. But we're going to see it on the big screen at the Chattanooga Film Festival. That's going to be our big cast and crew road trip to Chattanooga and check it out. And I'm hoping to have a cast and crew screening in Atlanta at some point, just to show everybody who can't make it to Chattanooga or something like that. So we're hoping to do that soon. But I have sent it out to various filmmakers that and film folks that I trust and I respect. So, and I've been getting good feedback. Usually when people say my films are fun, I'm like, but like this one is fun, so I'm like fine with that. I'm like, that's what it's supposed to be. It's fun, so I'll take it.
I showed it to someone and they said it was the best film they saw all day.
All day.
All day. There's a lot of like feedback from filmmakers that I've known over the years, and they've said like, it's definitely the most ambitious that you've done, and they were surprised at the quality of like how good it looks and stuff like that. And then I just also love a friend of mine, Tim Ryan, had great feedback. He said that it's really absurd and surreal, but the story is very easy to follow. So that was like, I was very happy to hear that because the story is very simple, but there's also all these crazy things. I mean, he actually said like, get your stupid tampon cart and get out of here is like one of the craziest lines he's ever heard. So I was pretty happy to hear that. And Tim's a writer, so that means a lot because I don't fancy myself as a good writer. But I want to see it with an audience because I feel like that's where we're gonna, feel that energy. So.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you do with the shorts once they have their run at the festivals?
So depending on the short, so Gwilliam, I actually put on Vimeo on demand, so it can be sold. I could sell it for like $5 to buy or $2 to rent. So somebody can like download it and have it forever, treasure it, and all that stuff. Crowhand is a Vimeo staff pick on Vimeo, obviously. But it also was featured on Crypt TV, and I think it accumulated over 1 million hits, and Eli Roth gave it a little shout-out and stuff. And so they usually go up online. This one I want to do something a little more with. I feel like it has potential for more expansion, new episodes or new adventures. The way we end it is sort of a teaser that we, thought of, but we don't necessarily have like a story ready. We have like the basics of what it is, but we want to sort of hint that, there could be more adventures that these girls go on, and they could potentially incorporate a monster that is somehow associated with the current dilemma that they're in. So obviously, Rose gets her period for the first time, so she battles Auntie Flo as a tampon monster. And then the next one is sort of like it deals with one of the other characters having an issue, and then there's a monster that is associated with that kind of problem. So we'll see.
Yeah, I would love to see more of them. And I know it even says episode 1 when it comes on.
Yes. And we went about that as if it could be like interpreted as a couple different things. It could be like yes, this is a potential pilot to be a show, or it is a short film that is basically mirroring like a one-off episode, like plucked in the middle of a season or something like that. Because that was the beauty of a lot of the Sailor Moon episodes, was that they're all standalone. There wasn't a common sort of like arc unless it gets towards the end where they actually battle the final foe at the end of it. But there's tons of like one-off episodes, a lot like Star Trek: The Next Generation, where there's like this kind of adventure, this kind of adventure. So sort of modeled it after that.
Mm-hmm. Will we see any like shirts or anything for the BFF girls?
We've got posters, and I think we're going to get some stickers, and we did get some shirts. We have to give our shirts to the donors who gave to us last year for our Indiegogo campaign, and we might have a few left to give out to some of the cast and crew, and if anybody wants an Auntie Flo shirt, like Jeff did this terrific drawing of Auntie Flo, and it has a very like comic book quality to it, and we're getting that ordered, and it looks really nice.
Yeah, I'd say the poster art's amazing. It's great for and just all the artwork for the
I love that
the graphics and stuff. Yeah,
thank you. That was also done by Jeff, who was our visual effects guy.
Mm-hmm. Jill, what did you think when you saw the finished movie? Were you did you see it as it progressed, like the different effects and everything?
Yeah, honestly, every step of the way, I was kind of blown away. I haven't really worked on stuff with, like heavy visual effects, like really barely any visual effects. So we shot such a great deal of it, on a green screen. So much of it's in our imagination. To see this thing come to life was really like magical from my perspective. Every time I was just like blown away, moved to tears half the time. I think it's freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm. I do too. I loved watching it. It's like I said, it's very colorful, and it's very fun, and it's gross, and it's kind of like I said, it's everything I enjoy watching. So I think people definitely dig it.
I hope so. That's definitely was our intention. We're not sadists. We're not going to put people through hell to speak for yourself. We want people to enjoy it. Yeah.
Right.
There are some films out there that are sadistic to the audience, but
this is not one.
This is not one of those films. Yeah.
Very true. Troy's more of an anime fan than I am. So, Troy, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I definitely got the vibe from it. Like it felt like I was, watching the old Force 5 or Transor Z or something like that.
That's
and
awesome.
that was mad cool.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, that's an important thing too. Is like obviously like we're paying homage to certain tropes in anime, so it makes me feel good when people who are like really into those shows like pick up on what we were trying to do. So.
Oh yeah, and that whole Dragon Ball Z with Master Roshi kind of thing going on.
Yeah, exactly. We just pushed it way to the inappropriate zone.
Yeah, you can't say too far, just far enough, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But I really enjoyed it. I liked it a ton.
I think that's good though, because Troy's into that kind of stuff, and I don't really know too much about it. And we both enjoyed it, so I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I'm not like a hardcore anime person either, believe it or not. But we had delved so into Sailor Moon, and we'd also seen shows like Attack on Titan and Fooly Cooly. So my wife knows more about anime than I do, but I love a lot of the Japanese films from the 60s and 70s. They have such a terrific like aesthetic. Like I love when a movie doesn't look real, like where it definitely has that sort of theatrical quality. It's exaggerated. It feels fake, but that's what I love about those kinds of films. So anything that's very visual and abstract. I just saw one called Tokyo Drifter, and I just loved how abstract it gets towards the end. And that's the kind of stuff that like sets my brain on fire. I love those kinds of exaggerated special effects or titles or anything like that to just bump up like the look of your film. So the look coupled with like the content, the stories we tell, we try to set ourselves apart a little bit from some of the other things that are out there. So that way they're a little more memorable. So when somebody says like tampon cart, that's something you don't see every day. That's a merit badge for me.
Fresh and new.
Exactly. Fabulous.
Yeah. So I assume all of you would be up to working together again.
I'm never making movies with these assholes again.
You have no choice. I would love to.
Yeah,
great.
in a heartbeat. I only want to make films with people like Blake and Jill and Tori. One thing to gloat about Jill is like, though she's a director also, but when she was on this, she was like a producer. Like, because sometimes like when you have a director producing a other director's film, they sometimes want to be like, well, I would do it this way or whatever. And she did not do that. And thank you so much for that, Jill. Like, that meant you trusted me, and you felt comfortable, and I felt comfortable. Like, you made me feel like good about what I was doing. And of course, these guys and gals are my sounding board. So, because one thing I'm never like 100% like, is this the way to go? I always want to hear feedback. I always want to be told like, this might be done better if we do this. So that's why I always go to them, for feedback. Like, is this the right way to go? Should we do it like this? Do it like that? And, they were always really helpful with feedback. And it's trust is such an important thing on a film, a small independent film. Trusting your collaborators and trusting the director and trusting the producer. Like, I trust these guys completely. So of course I would work with them all again.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre. At some points, this movie was so easy to make at points, because I was like, wow, everything's going so easily. Jill's got everything so organized, and Brian's got all the storyboards. We know only thing I got to do is worry about keeping up with Jill and Brian, and everything's gonna be awesome. And so, I mean, so many people came together and helped out, and so many variety of positions. The movie was simple to make. It was a good time. Nothing but fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you say that, because it was like, it was stressful for me. But it was a good kind of stress, but it also was like a, oh my God, like, what am I doing kind of stress? Because I have those moments. There is definitely like a couple of moments in things I direct that I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is insane. Like, this is so ridiculous. And I believe it was one of the wide shots where Lawrence is screaming up at the sky. And I'm just like looking at this awkward wide shot, because there's a lot of headroom, because there's going to be a ghost there. And I'm just looking at it. I'm like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. What am I doing? So there's a couple of those moments, but those get shaken off really fast. And then of course, green screen is really kind of a scary thing to be shooting with, especially with the fight scene, because, when you're editing it before the VFX come in, you have your imagination, but you're basically looking at a blank canvas, with your subject on it, and you're like, I don't know what this is gonna look like. Is this gonna work? But
that was scary. That was scary.
Yeah, but again, I trust Jeff so much, and he's so talented, that I knew, like, once I saw something, I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. It's just the anticipation of waiting to see something come back, where that sort of worry comes in. But it's always worry about myself as a director, not so much Jeff's skills as a visual effects artist. It's all about, is this going to work? And then as soon as I see it, I'm like, yes, it's absolutely going to work. And then as when Jill mentioned, like, she started seeing shots come in, I hear her, reacting to it, what she thinks. It makes it like, yes, let's keep going. Let's get this, let's get the momentum going. And it's great. It's addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Making any other movie, the idea that we would change an entire day of outdoor shooting to an entire day of green screen shooting and just trust that the guy later on is going to make sure it's all good, that wouldn't happen any other time. But it's because we have Jeff is why that was all acceptable.
Yeah.
And on the same day, recasting a lead BFF girl.
Yeah.
And
I want to shout out, though, Blake, that on that final day when it was insane and we had these few hours with our, new BFF girl, Carol Ann, Blake was on his, like, setting the timer, like, every shot, keeping us, like, on the fucking schedule. So
yeah, absolutely.
That.
That is such a great quality that Blake has with our collaboration, is because, like, Blake tells me like it is.
he speaks very frankly about something, and I'll listen to him. Of course, I'm like I said, I'm not going to be like, no, Blake, you listen to me.
I would love to see that, though.
It's definitely like, my motivation is like, I want to get everything I can get done so everybody can go home and go to sleep. Like, there's no point in me selfishly keeping everyone, So yeah, I totally appreciate when someone does that for me. They never have to worry about like hurting my feelings or anything like that. It's just like, we got to get it done, and Blake knows we have to get it done. So he's the one who's like, all right, here's how many minutes we have left before we have to shoot. Now let's start shooting. So it's great.
Honestly, I would just sit there and make up some numbers like, oh, okay, you got to get a shot off. We got to get this done in 4 minutes. Come on, let's go. Let's get it done in 4 minutes. I was like, what the fuck? I guess I got it done. So, but we got the most work out of so many awesome people that you can ask for 16 hours straight of their time. And it's very nice, and people put up with a lot.
Yeah, it was definitely the longest shoot we've had in a while, Blake, because of just like how the last minute location changed, and how, what was going to be one shot is now actually 4 different setups that are going to be composited together. So yeah, it was like a lot of it was a big puzzle at that point, a lot of problem solving. But I love that. That's one of the things where I get very excited when I'm on set directing, as in addition to seeing like the performances and just like laughing and just being very happy about what I'm seeing. It was all great. Like I love directing. I love making films with these people, and I love like these silly ideas we come up with, and the fact that they want to do them with us.
I also must say, during production on that day that was crazy, there was so many hours, we also, even though it was crazy, we found time to celebrate Brian's birthday. Have cake for everybody. It got to the point where I was like, no, there's no time for birthday cake. And we're like, oh. Finally, like, okay, I guess we got that birthday cake.
Yeah, that was the weekend of my birthday, so that was the best birthday present ever, was to film.
So, how can people follow BFF Girls and see, where it's playing and any news about it?
I'm going to let Jill answer that, because she is the social media queen of the BFF Girls.
Well, on Twitter, we're at BFF Girls Film, and same thing on Facebook. And then we use that hashtag BFF Girls Film, and I think we should also use BFF Girls Forever.
Yeah, definitely a couple of times, but we should, yeah.
But yes, BFF Girls Film on all the social medias.
Find it, follow it, yeah.
Jill does an amazing job on. Sorry, Jill, I have to interrupt you so I can tell more great things about it.
Oh my!
Watch out. Like I was just saying about, she is really incredible with the social media. Unfortunately, like I try, but I can't keep up with like how well she gets that stuff out there. And we're trying to brainstorm a few ideas. One thing I had proposed was to sort of give shout outs to the different cast members and see what they're doing, and see if we can help like bump them up a little bit. For example, I had found out that Leah, who played Auntie Flo, is one of the masked villains in the new Strangers.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, she's the pinup girl. So if you go to her IMDb page, she has 2 acting credits. One is The Strangers, and the other is BFF Girls. So
one's an awesome movie like BFF Girls.
Yeah.
Okay, Blake.
Well, the other one is awesome.
I didn't say anything.
But yeah, like Atlanta is a big sort of like hub right now for film. So we definitely want to like help promote like anything big or small that our actors are working on. I think Maryland has something coming up. An improv thing or theater thing coming up in next week, I believe. So we'll have to do a little post about her. And yeah, I don't know. Like these are great actors, and I want people to work with them, and I want to work with them again too. But I don't want to be greedy, I want.
Right,
but I'm greedy with my crew. I don't want anyone else working.
How about each of you? How can you follow? How can you follow you, Blake? And what else you have going on? Blake?
Oh, Blake, you there?
Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll get back to Blake.
Where? Well, maybe he doesn't want anyone to know. I don't know.
He doesn't like being followed.
I meant online. I didn't mean like.
Yeah, you scared him, Neil.
Well, how about you, Jill? How can people follow Jill 6?
At Jill 6 with 2 X's, all on everywhere. And then I have sixtape.com, which has a little BFF Girls page on there as well with all the screenings. And I've got a new short film that's going to also be at the Chattanooga Film Festival called 42 Counts. So I'm excited about that.
Very cool. I think Blake is back.
Blake back.
Hi, how y'all doing?
Hey, good. So we're wondering how can people follow Blake, and what else do you have coming out or in the works?
Right now, there's no real way to follow me. I am. I'm just watching movies and having a good time.
Well, that's good.
And I'm getting ready for Buried Alive Film Festival that's coming up this year, and watching movies and getting ready for a good festival this year. And we're waiting to see what Brian comes up with next, and we'll see. There's always something in the works.
Very cool. And Brian, how can people follow you?
Well, you could follow Tori and me. We're at Gwilliam Film on Twitter. And then we also have Gwilliam Film on Facebook and Crowhand on Facebook. So you can follow us there. We made social media pages for those films a while ago, and we try to keep up with them as best we can. But yep, that's how you find us, is Gwilliam Film and Crowhand.
Yeah. And can you see your previous shorts online anywhere?
Oh, yeah. You can see everything.
All right.
He'll show you everything. Expose all.
Yes, if you go to vimeo.com/Brian Lonano, you can see everything I've done as far back as 2008. And then I have a YouTube page, which is also /Brian Lonano, and you can see my films that were done from 2007 and earlier. So BFF Girls is short film number 11 in my massive, unimpressive filmography.
Aww.
I put myself down a lot, but I know.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go back and watch the other 10.
Awesome. Please let me know what you think.
I will.
All weird and crazy. So.
Yeah. And I'll let you guys know what the audience reaction is like at the Boston Underground Film Festival.
Please do. Yes, I'm dying. I'm dying to hear about how it looks on the big screen and what audiences think. It's in a good block. It's in the comedy maybe shorts block, which is on March 24th at 4 p.m. at the Brattle Theater, and we're playing with other really talented, crazy filmmakers like Bobby Miller, Debbie Snively, Jim McDonough, and there's a couple of others. It's a really good block. Oh, there's a really, really weird, funny one called Robo Greaser that's in the block. We saw that in Knoxville last year. That was really funny. But yeah, the block is awesome. There's this other feature that looks really cool called Top Knot Detective. Mm-hmm. And I really want to see it. And then a new friend of Blake and me, Kevin Fermini, has a short film that plays before that called Viola versus the Vampire King, which is a lot of fun and sort of shares the same.
That movie's awesome.
Yes, it shares the same sort of like fun qualities that BFF Girls does, and they shot theirs on Super 8. So it has a really high energy. It's great. I love it.
Very cool. Well, I'm looking forward to being there. I haven't been to the. I got really sick last time I was going to go there and was in the hospital. So, so this time, hopefully everything will be fine and I won't be dying or anything.
How many times have you gone?
I haven't been yet. Last year something came up, and the year before was when I got very sick.
Gotcha. It was in 2016 where our film Gwilliam played, and we won the runner-up award for most effectively offensive.
Very good.
We were only was pretty excited about that win. Yeah, Gwilliam had a lot of interesting awards, like the wrongest film award at the Sick and Wrong Film Fest.
The wrongest.
Yeah.
I want to know what was more offensive at Boston than Gwilliam.
I can tell you.
Me too.
I know which one it is. It was a short called Air by Richard Powell, and it actually is very effectively offensive. So I'll be fine playing
Okay.
Yeah, that one's gnarly.
Yeah.
But ours is gnarly in a fun way. Theirs was gnarly in a wrong way. Yeah.
On a personal note, since I mentioned being sick, I know Jill's always involved in the blood drive, and a couple years ago when I got sick, then after I had multiple surgeries, I was bleeding to death several times, and I had to have a lot of blood transfusions. So that's something people should do is give blood.
Oh my goodness!
Hell yeah, they should.
Yeah, it was spewing out just like in your movie.
Yeah, the Soska sisters have led this massive blood drive kind of just movement every February for 9 years now, and it was cool to be part of it for a few years. I didn't get to make a short this year because I was so busy, but it was cool. They released a different short every year of February this year, so you can go watch 28 up there on their YouTube channel.
Very cool. And a cheap plug, they'll be on the show in April, the Soska twins. So looking forward to that. So it's been awesome to have you guys on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd love to have each of you back at some point.
That would be great.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks so much.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, thanks again, guys, and check out BFF Girls and hashtag BFF Girls Forever and BFF Girls movie, right?
BFF
film. All right.
Yep.
Film. All right. Very good. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hail Satan.
Good night.
All right. We're off.
Hail Satan.
All right. That was very good. Thanks, guys.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
that
welcome.
was tremendous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, this is Lawrence R. Harvey, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. Although how you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com without your head, I simply don't know.